Welcome to the Helping Families Be Happy podcast, where we explore the often messy world of family, love, and relationships. I'm your host for this podcast, Adina Oberman, a mom, former preschool teacher, picture book lover, and member of the Familius marketing team. I'm also the creator of Big Books for Little Hands, a site dedicated to connecting parents and teachers with the best books for the ups and downs of life with young children. We welcome today's guest, Kenya Kirkman. Kenya is the founder of 18th August Avenue. Kenya experienced the stillbirth of her twin boys, Aiden and Carter, in 2019. Although her path to parenthood took an unexpected turn, it sparked a desire to create a space for expectant parents to find diverse books, shop for gifts, and connect with other families. 18 August Avenue reflects Kenya's vision for BIPOC parents and children, including Aiden and Carter, to see themselves represented in books and products. Kenya currently serves as a senior community engagement coordinator during the day at a public health organization in Brooklyn, New York, and is committed to amplifying the untold stories that affect Black and Brown families. She's previously held the role of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Lead at Push for Empowered Pregnancy. With a background in public health and mental health, Kenya is passionate about integrating health and well-being into the children's bookshop experience. Her extensive work with youth and various families underscores her belief in the power of collective conversations about health and access to books and reading. As the daughter of a New York Public Library librarian, Kenya grew up surrounded by books. Kenya grew up surrounded by books, and her love of them is the driving force behind 18 August Avenue. The Children's Bookshop empowers BIPOC communities by celebrating their stories through books, resources, and events. Kenya aspires to bring 18 August Avenue to a physical space in Brooklyn, New York. Fingers crossed 2025. This episode aligns with the Familius habits: heal together, read together, and talk together. You can learn more about the Familius 10 Habits of Happy Families by going to the Habit Hub blog on Familius.com. Welcome, Kenya. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really an honor.
So I really was so inspired by all that you shared just with us in your bio about you, your experience, about Aiden and Carter. So can you tell us how the idea for 18 August Avenue went from this idea in your head to what it is now?
Yeah, no problem. So first I would just say it took time. Everything transpired around 2019. At the time, I decided to leave the workforce, all things considered, and I had the opportunity to do so. I was finishing up with my graduate degree. And so in order to keep myself busy or just find things to do throughout the day, I decided to take business classes at the library, ironically. They were free, and I would go to different branches and just take the classes. I want to say around 2020, I was like, I want to find a way. Also, I was volunteering with Push for Empowered Pregnancy, and I was like, I want to find a way to honor them that feels natural, that feels like what was I missing or what did I need during my experience with parenthood and just, anticipating the birth of them. So I would say it took time, but from about 2020 until last year, it was again an idea that kept poking at me. I recognized that with my background in public health and mental health, like I always have loved opportunities and spaces where families connect and get access to resources. I'm a lover of all things books. I think originally when I started out with 18 August Ave, it was mainly going to be a children's boutique. And then I guess as time went on, I was like, a bookshop is definitely where I wanted to do. And I think about like the books that I would have potentially had at their home library and things like that. And so the idea, um, it brewed from about 2019, excuse me. But it really just took time. Yeah.
So I want to ask you a few things. Um, the first thing that I want to ask is, do you have advice for our listeners who are also maybe thinking about turning their passion into a business, or even for people who are book lovers and they're thinking about getting into the industry themselves? What would you tell them as far as advice and inspiration?
I think when you take any experience in life, whether a good experience or a traumatic experience, you always want to be grounded in what feels right to you. And I think for a while I went back and forth with, you know, using well, not using, but like really being a voice of what happened to me in the books, like, in the bookstore experience, or just like opening up 18 August Ave. And I was really hesitant about, like, is this what I really want to do? Of how this is this how I'm going to honor them? And so I think first and foremost, making sure that you feel right with it, regardless of like what others are saying about like what you should do or how you should honor a situation that has happened to you. So just be authentic, be honest with yourself, and really make sure that it's like a labor of love of what you want to do. And I think that goes hand in hand when um, starting or having this idea to start a bookshop. It's a lot of work. As a woman of color, as a Black woman, especially the book industry and the publishing industry can be overwhelming. But just make sure that, again, authentically is something that you want to do and you're doing it out of love. And it's one of those things that like you feel like if everything was said and done, like you're honestly happy with what you're doing.
That's such good advice, because at the end of the day, it's you, it's your idea, it's your business, it's your passion. And yeah, you want to feel like you're following your path, and um, that what you're going to do is going to fulfill you. So that's such great advice. It's so easy to think about what is this to the outside world? What do family and friends think? And in the end, how you feel about it is really the most important thing. I also wanted to thank you for sharing about your experience on Aiden and Carter, because it's such um, a life changing event to experience a stillbirth, and it's something that many people, are not ready to share, and also just in general can be very stigmatized, and something that often people don't want to talk about. So my question is, how how what's the response when you share with you know your community, whether that's people who you're physically interacting with, or just those who you're talking about the shop with? What's the reaction when you share how you got started and you tell your story about your boys?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I will be honest that because of what you shared about it still being a stigmatized topic, it's not always the first thing I lead with when talking about the bookshop. I think the most important thing is that like the books that I curate, the experiences, the events, Aiden and Carter, in my experience, is always at the center of it. And so, for example, I officially opened the shop last year, January, so 2023. And in May, I was really adamant about having a postpartum awareness event during postpartum awareness week. And even though I'm a bookshop, I wanted to make sure that the event was around books and around items for children and items and things like that for parents. But I also wanted to make sure that there were resources. So Push was there. We had some other local sponsors there as well. And so I think that if I don't immediately share with everyone about like where the origin of the bookshop came from, at least with the books that is curated in the events, I think a lot of people are really receptive to what I'm doing, and they really connect with it. I think especially um, when you talk about parenthood or just starting a family or just connecting with others, people want to feel seen. And I mean, I know that's said often, but I just feel like with the books I curate and the events, a lot of the feedback that I've heard is that to keep going, and this is something that they definitely wish that they had when, like, let's say they had a child at a previously. Or like when their children was younger. I've even had parents recognize that, like, especially in like the first 6 months of their journey in parenthood, it could be lonely, it could be isolating. And so, for me to keep going with the resources, the events, the books that I'm curating, because they definitely appreciate that.
So much of what you said is resonating with me and bringing me back to those early parenthood days where I totally agree, where it's isolating and you're sort of craving that community and that other like adult contact. So I think it sounds like you're providing a really incredible resource to your community, not just for people who are looking for books, but like you said, for people who really feel that need to be seen and to connect with others. So it sounds like your community is very lucky to have you. Can you talk a little bit about what's next on the horizon for you and for 18 August Avenue?
Yeah, so this year has been really a busy year thus far. I know we're only in September, but we have been at a lot of pop-ups, trying to get awareness and visibility of who we are and what we're trying to do. Also, when I know, again, the origin of everything is are surrounded around my two boys, and parents and first-time parents, especially, but just parents in general. But a lot of the young people that we come into contact with, especially like middle grade, elementary, like they're really excited about the books that we have. And so we hope that we can create more spaces for them as well, especially in this like digital climate, especially with the political climate. Like, so much is going on in the world. We really want 18 August Ave to be a space of, I don't want to sound cliche, but like peace, and just like you could come, you could find a book, you could engage in like an event, you get some resources. And so we are in the planning phase of like what that looks like for the remainder of the year. I know we did a lot of events again at pop-ups, but we really want to make sure that we are building a little bit more intimacy with our customers and those who, especially from like last year when we had a couple of events, who are asking like, okay, what's next and what are you going to do next? And as mentioned in the bio, wellness is really, really important to me. And so just making sure that that's also embedded is what we're like planning for. We really wanted to find a physical space this year. But again, like I said, fingers crossed, that would be next year. For those who are listening, the real estate in New York could be intimidating. But fingers crossed, we will have a physical space again for people to come share and connect.
I'm crossing my fingers for you for that physical space. I know, New York City real estate can be such a challenge, and so I hope and we hope that you find that space very soon. Is there anything else that you want to share with our listeners, or that you want people to know about your shop?
I think also we are trying to connect more with our educators. There, a lot of families and a lot of people know that there has been a decline in reading. And we really just want to make intentional connections with those in the neighborhood. So I'm based out in Brooklyn, New York. And so we really want to make sure that we're making some of those connections about that we're here to be a vessel in the community. So for parents, educators, those who really want to get behind and get children a little bit more engaged in reading and what does that look like and access and things like that. So 18 August Ave, we are a children's bookshop, but we really are really priding ourselves to empowering BIPOC families. And so we really want to do that through books. We really want to do that through resources, and really want to do that through events. And so we just hope that for those who are listening or those who are interested in following and learning more, they know that we're here and we're here to stay too as well. I think secondly, I also want to give a small, I guess, thank you to Bink Tank, because I think through Bink Tank is where I met Ashley, and Ashley connected us. And so, again, just really getting out there about the shop and what we're doing or what we're trying to do in our community. And, it really goes a long way. So I'm really, really appreciative of all the support that the shop has received, again, this year, especially. And so, yeah.
As we begin to wind down, I want to make sure that everyone can find you online. So can you share your website, your social media, anything that you want people to have?
Sure. So Instagram is 18 August AVE. So Ave or Avenue. We are also online at www.18augustave 18 August AVE again.com. And again, you could shop. We're pop-up. And so we typically at least twice a month are at different markets and venues. We have 2 markets coming up. We're going to be at Weeksville Heritage Center for those who are local to Brooklyn, New York. We're looking to, again, do an event for educators. We're looking to do an event for our children, especially around Halloween. And so, yeah, check us out on Instagram. Stay tuned for some of the events that we're trying to curate. We also do pickups for those who are in the Brooklyn, New York area as well. We typically have a lot of our events in the Dumbo region of Brooklyn, for those who are familiar. And so we're just really trying to get out there, really connect, and let people know that we're here.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Kenya. As we conclude today's podcast, I'd like to thank Familius for their support in bringing this podcast to your ears and your heart. We'd be thrilled if you subscribe to the podcast and left us a review. And when you're ready for that next amazing book adventure, we'd be honored if you choose a book from Familius. One step at a time, we can make the world a happier place.